Conspiracy theories start from a distrust of surface facts. They insist that behind ordinary events lies a secret plan run by some powerful group or organization. Often these theories lack rigorous evidence. Sometimes they're downright absurd or illogical, and the accused parties find it hard to clear their names. In the messy, raw arenas of everyday life, at work, at school, in our neighborhoods, we all hear the familiar conspiracies. Hitler didn't kill himself. He escaped to Argentina to live out his days. 9/11 was orchestrated by George W. Bush. The moon landing was faked, and the most famous of all, the many theories around JFK's assassination. Yet every so often, a rumor that sounded impossible gets proven true, exposed by leaked documents, recordings, film footage, or declassified government files. I'm Sushi-kun, your host, and today I'm taking all of you lovely viewers through 16 conspiracy theories that were actually confirmed. In the strategy game Hearts of Iron, leaders manufacture reasons for war to win public support and blunt their rivals' influence. The real world hasn't always been so different. In 1962, the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff drafted a plan called Operation Northwoods. The proposal outlined a disturbing strategy: have the CIA and other government agencies carry out terrorist acts on American soil, attacks against civilians and military targets, and then pin the blame on Cuba to build public support for intervention. The plan spelled out concrete acts of terror: assassinating Cuban exile leaders, bombing ships carrying Cuban refugees, planting bombs in public places and on vessels, and creating panic in Miami, other Florida cities, and even Washington, D.C. The draft was signed off by Acting Joint Chiefs Chairman Lyman Lemnitzer, but President Kennedy ultimately rejected the plan and removed Lemnitzer from his post. Still, the paper trail existed. It is a chilling example of how far some planners considered going to manufacture consent for war. Unlike Operation Northwoods, which was rejected for its brutality, history has other, real cases where the U.S. used manufactured or exaggerated incidents to justify war. In 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin incident became the spark that pulled America into the Vietnam War. But the Maddox wasn't actually exchanged fire with North Vietnamese torpedo boats while collecting intelligence. It didn't face a flotilla of enemy vessels. And the barrage of reported shots was essentially non-existent. The Maddox's crew were, in effect, shooting at ghosts. Johnson quickly pushed the Tonkin resolution through, using the incident to seize broad war powers. A similar pattern reappeared in 2003, when the U.S. invaded Iraq, citing hidden stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction and claims that Iraq was seeking uranium in Africa to build nuclear weapons. Investigations later showed Iraq had no WMD stockpiles and had not been mining African uranium for a weapons program. Yet the case for war had already been made. During the Cold War, the CIA invited Uri Geller, the man famous for bending spoons with his mind, to join a secret program designed to develop psychic weapons and enhance intelligence against the Soviet Union. This top-secret initiative became known as the Stargate Project. Its mission was to explore the true potential of psychic and telepathic powers to see if they could be harnessed for military or governmental use. Researchers conducted a series of extraordinary experiments. In one test, a scientist sat in a separate room, randomly picked a word from a dictionary, and drew it. In another room, Yuri tried to sense the image with his mind and drew almost the exact same thing. For years, the experiments continued in secrecy. When the Cold War finally ended and the Soviet Union collapsed, Uri Geller publicly admitted that he had indeed worked with both the CIA and Mossad on psychic research. It's one of the strangest chapters in espionage history, when the world's most powerful agencies truly believed that the human mind itself could become a weapon. In 1977, the Freedom of Information Act exposed over 20,000 previously classified documents, triggering a wave of Senate hearings. Among the revelations was one of the most disturbing secret projects in U.S. history, MK-Ultra. According to the declassified files, MK-Ultra was a CIA program that conducted horrific experiments using drugs, electroshock, hypnosis, intimidation, sexual abuse, sensory deprivation, and torture to study and manipulate human behavior. The project's hundreds of subprograms were outsourced to more than 80 different institutions, including universities, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. Testimonies later revealed that the infamous Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, had actually been a participant in an MK Ultra-linked experiment while studying at Harvard in the late 1950s. But because CIA Director Richard Helms ordered most MK Ultra documents destroyed in 1973, the full truth of what happened in those experiments remains largely unknown, buried forever in the shadows of American intelligence history. After World War II, the U.S. government launched a secret operation to recover and utilize Nazi Germany's advanced military science and technology research. During this recovery effort, the Allies discovered lists of German scientists who had worked under the Nazi regime, and from that discovery emerged a covert mission known as Operation Paperclip. The goal was to bring these former Nazi scientists to the United States, allowing them to continue their research in various fields to benefit the American military and technological development. Although President Harry Truman explicitly forbade hiring former Nazi Party members or fascist supporters, officials within the CIA and OSS quietly ignored his orders. They secretly altered documents, erased records of war crimes, and gave these individuals new identities. Between 1945 and 1955, Operation Paperclip smuggled more than 1,000 German scientists into the U.S., many of whom had served the Nazi Party, the Gestapo, or had even conducted human experiments in concentration camps. Disturbingly, one of these former Nazi scientists later collaborated with the CIA, continuing his human experimentation under the infamous MK Ultra program. Alcohol was once seen as the root of all crime. To curb rising violence, calm public outrage, and supposedly improve the nation's health, the U.S. government passed the Volstead Act, which took effect on January 2, 1920, banning the production and sale of all alcoholic beverages. Under this law, any drink containing more than 0.5% alcohol was considered illegal. But where there's a ban, there's always a loophole. Some skirted the edge by brewing near beer with just under the legal limit, while others continued to buy and drink in secret. What no one expected, however, was the government's next move. In order to enforce the ban, U.S. authorities poisoned industrial alcohol supplies to deter bootleggers. Those toxins eventually made their way into illegal liquor sold to the public. Between 1920 and 1933, before President Franklin D. Roosevelt repealed the law, nearly 10,000 people died from drinking tainted alcohol. And so the legend continues. They say typing certain keywords into national databases connects you to the NSA, or that in New Mexico, you can still find traces of third-kind technology. Rumors, myths, and truth blur together in our modern world. But as long as we keep our eyes open and see clearly through the lies, that's enough. It's been a long time since my last science video, but I found my spark again. So here it is. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Life endures. Hope lives on. I'm Sushi-kun. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.